Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. The Brian Craig Show is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need roof replacement or repair in the state of Florida, Tom Laporta is your guy. Online at laportaroofing.com. Okay, Kash Patel's confirmed. Let's just say it. I mean, this is an interesting hearing. Out of all of the confirmation hearings for the Trump appointees, today's hearing with Kash Patel I thought was the most fascinating of all of them, while it may not have been the most exciting. Okay, there were some moments, and I'll tell you why. And it shows you the power of the fake news. Yeah. Now, all of us that are MAGA are huge fans of Kash Patel. He's a rock star, right? He's part of the Trump band. Like if Trump had a band, he was the lead singer. Yeah. Kash Patel would be
like on keyboard
or something like that. Maybe come out on play bass every once in a while.
Part of the crew.
Yeah, and get his own little solo on the bass. At some point. Everybody loves Kash Patel, but I was expecting, out of all of the confirmation hearings, I was expecting the Kash Patel hearing to be the most explosive, exciting, controversial hearing, and the Kash Patel was the one that was most likely to not get confirmed out of all of them, because he's taking on the FBI. And I watched this hearing today from the beginning, and not only is he confirmed, it's a done deal. He's going to be confirmed. They got nothing on him. In fact, most everything that all of us have ever heard about Kash Patel that seems controversial never happened or was said. They'll take part of a sentence or a sentence out of a paragraph and make that your whole thought when it's not. And he's not really. This may seem. Obviously, he's a tough guy, and we agree, and he's going to take down these lawfare people. But he's not all that controversial. He's even more experienced than I realized. I've heard his background and I know his resume, but hearing him talk about it was a little different. He's got a great resume. He's very mild-mannered. He is not controversial at all.
I think what people understand is the way you talk on a podcast when you're being interviewed and you have you don't have a hearing coming up. You're just a regular civilian. You're going to talk a different way than you would, and you're going to conduct yourself a little differently if you have a job. I mean, sometimes you say that. I'm not saying he didn't say anything that he didn't believe, but when you're on a podcast or being interviewed or you're writing a book or something, you write those things without knowing you're going to be the FBI director one day. And so, and I've heard a lot of them say that, like, well, I was a civilian when I said that, and now, of course, I'm going to follow the law and the Constitution. And I think everybody has handled themselves amazingly, and the senators have done a good job too.
These things about interviews, okay? I don't do that many interviews, okay? I've never really done a lot of interviews. And the reason that I don't like to do, and if you'd like to interview me, that doesn't mean you can't ask, but I may not do it. I gotta see. Usually for me to do an interview, it would have to be someone I either know personally or someone I know of and have a lot of respect for. And I just mentioned this quickly. I did an interview for something that was not political on something else. Somebody wanted to interview me a few months back, and I did an interview. And let me tell you, because sometimes you guys may think, well, who wants to interview? I've turned down interviews with national and international publications and some of the top conservative news sites out there. I've turned down interviews from. And the reason that I don't do many interviews is two reasons. One, I did an interview, and this interview I did was on someone else's. It was on someone's YouTube channel. It was a podcast interview on someone's YouTube channel. It had nothing to do with politics or Trump. It had something to do with something completely different. And they asked me to be a guest. We were not in the same location. We were in different locations. Right? I'm in Florida. They were in a different state. And we had a great interview, great conversation. And you and I were, when the interview aired, we listened to it, and it seemed off. And you said you didn't answer that. He asked you a question. You didn't answer what he asked. And I said, yeah, I didn't. I don't know. And then I talked to the guy, and he's a friend of mine. So, this was,
well, an acquaintance, I would say.
An acquaintance.
I wouldn't say a friend.
He forgot to hit record on his end.
That's what he told you.
Yeah, I believe him.
I mean, he could be lying.
It could, but I believe him. He forgot. Well, so goes the story. He forgot to hit record on his track.
Right.
So all he had was me. So he re-recorded his parts, is what he told me. So the interview was a little off, and that went. And the reason I've turned down some interviews with big publications that, by the way, promote me. When you do an interview, get your name out there, is because when you do an interview or you're a guest on someone else's show, you lose control of the context of what you're saying and trying to communicate, right? So a lot of these people like Kash Patel that do a lot of interviews, they're on different people's programs, television, podcast, or whatever, and they don't have control on the context of that show and what questions are asked and what's said when they're not there, and it puts things in a different light. It really can be bad, and you're seeing some of that with these hearings. But with all that being said, Kash Patel is not a controversial person. In fact, if you go through everything he talked about his whole life and even the questions he was asked, most of the things we've heard about him that are that sound controversial are completely fictitious, totally made up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these senators, they're not going to vote for him anyway because he's a Trump pick. So they have to justify that no vote. So they have to get up there and grandstand and try to embarrass him and look indignant and angry so they can justify to their base or to their voters, well, I don't agree with him. And even though half of them might not even care.
And, when I
might like him, but they can't, make it known.
Now, when I was watching the hearing today, the Democrats were insanely out of control, very emotional, very hysterical.
Nothing new.
And this was beyond the normal, okay, we're Democrat, we don't like you kind of thing. Most of their hysterics that the Democrats had to do with two things. Either their fear that Kash Patel would release all the Epstein files, or that he would shut down the Washington Bureau of the FBI. And when I was watching that hearing today, the Democrats, they all looked like the FBI had files on them that they were afraid were going to go public if they didn't go out there and bark at Kash Patel. Yeah. It was insane. So he's going to be the FBI director. He's so mild-mannered in this hearing today. Do you think, Kathy, he's still going to shut down the Washington office like he said? It should be shut down and turned into a museum?
Well, that's what I mean.
I'd like to see that.
I hope so. But just because he said it on a podcast, that might be a fantasy he has. But now that he's in the real position, then it might be a different thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean he doesn't want to do it. But, I think he will. I think what he said he wants to do is focus more on the field offices and get rid of that main Washington office that does nothing. And I like the senator who said to him, would you rather have the FBI go through the first lady's underwear drawer or go after people who are raping children or something like that? And I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes, it's outrageous.
What the FBI has been used going after parents, people at the Catholic Church. Biden.
The parents at the school board meetings.
Biden used the DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA as his own personal police force. And not just him. I don't think he was running everything. There might have been people working in the White House that authorized these things that he might not have known anything about. Yeah. That said and signed his name and said, go do this, go do that, and go after Trump. And he had no clue this was happening. Yeah. That's possible too.
Then Trump today had a press conference on this plane crash with the Black Hawk, okay? And Trump, it was a really... I got to tell you, I think that's the first time we've seen President Trump in his second term in the White House briefing room. And it was very surreal to see him in the White House press briefing room at the podium with the presidential seal on the podium, the presidential flag behind him, leading a press conference at the White House. It was amazing.
What was amazing to me was him standing up there and then having Sean Duffy, who needs to gain some weight. I'm sorry. He looks awful. He's too thin. I don't know if he's on something, but he is just too damn thin. He's like Trey Gowdy here. They had Sean Duffy come up and then Pete Hegseth. That was nuts to have those three guys And it just makes me feel so much better that this is who's running the country.
Well, yeah, we got real.
Not just Trump; it's the whole cabinet.
We've got real competent people.
Oh.
But President Trump, Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, all three of them were talking about DEI involving this crash. Most of the discussion for President Trump was about the air traffic controller, but they were all talking about DEI and involved in this crash. And those three guys, they know everything about everyone involved. Okay,
by now I would say
then they knew. They know who the air traffic controller is and what they're back. We don't know at the moment of this recording of this podcast. We don't know.
Right.
By the time you're listening to the podcast, it may be public. But Trump and Hegseth and Duffy know already. They knew during the press conference. They know who the air traffic controller is and their backstory. And they also know who the two Black Hawk helicopter pilots are, which we don't know yet, and their backstory. So them talking about – the press are so stupid. They're so consumed with their hatred of Republicans. They don't understand, well, this guy's president of the United States. He's the defense secretary. It's a military helicopter. He's the secretary of transportation. They know who the people are already. So they're not just up there throwing around DEI for nothing. They know something about either the air traffic controller or the two pilots that we don't know yet that fits in the DEI. And
well, they don't care about getting to the truth.
Yeah.
They just care about
it's going to come
making
out.
Trump look bad.
But the two we don't have the identity of the helicopter pilots yet. We got the identity of the commercial pilots, but they're not responsible. We don't have the identity of the Black Hawk pilots, but some information came out. There were two of them, an instructor and another pilot.
I thought there were three on the helicopter.
There were two pilots. There was a third person that wasn't a pilot. The instructor pilot has 1,000 hours of flight time, and the other pilot 500 hours in the Black Hawk. And that doesn't sound like a lot to me. I don't know how many hours are a lot for a Black Hawk, but there without question, listening to Trump and Hegseth and Duffy, there's some DEI factor involved in this crash.
Trump had said that they listened to the recording of the air traffic controller.
Yeah, I heard some of that too.
And he said something, I can't remember, that indicated
Do you see him?
Everything. No, he said something like everything is before that. He said something to the effect of that lets them know it's all clear. But I don't understand this. And Pete Hegseth said they were wearing night vision goggles, and a guy on Fox said that can obscure your vision a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is this. If you look at the flight path of the Black Hawk, it was on the other side of the river, like about a quarter mile away from the airport. And I happen to know somebody who also has a sister who's a flight attendant like mine. And her sister flies in that route all the time. She lives in Philadelphia. So she flies to DC all the time. And she told her this morning, because I talked to her, she said that when you fly into that airport, you cannot see those Black Hawks. They're they're not that close, that where they store them. Mm-hmm. So she said she never sees them when she's flying on that plane. And she's a stewardess. So those Black Hawks are not that close. It went up, helicopters go straight up, and then it flew horizontally in a straight line about a quarter of a mile across that river and slammed into that plane. I don't understand how the hell that happened unless it was intentional or it was gross incompetence by the air traffic controller, and they were relying on him too much. And that's what Trump is kind of leaning towards, because Pete Hegseth, like you said, he might know those guys.
And he knows who they are.
And he might say to Trump, there's no way these guys did this on purpose. He might have said that to him. He might have said, there's no way. I know them. I know who they are. These are not radicals. I doubt
he knows them personally, but he knows who they are.
He might know them. You never know. But for Trump to come out and say DEI and to then he said, I don't blame the air traffic controller, but he just kind of put it out there.
Then he talked
his thinking is that it was negligence on the part of the air traffic controller.
Now, I remember back in the 80s, there was a lot of talk about how stressful being an air traffic controller was. It's like one of the most frightening jobs there is. And
very stressful.
And President Trump went through the list of these Biden DEI things where they let people that suffer from mental illness become air traffic controllers.
Yeah, they've changed the qualifications.
You can have mental illness, which means emotional and all kinds of other problems.
That's the opposite of what you need.
Exactly.
I mean, you're staring at a screen all day at little dots.
With thousands of lives in your hand.
You need somebody who is not mentally unstable,
exactly.
but they actually actively have been recruiting. I don't understand that other than the fact that they want to hurt Americans. Well, that's the only reason I can think of it.
The country's been run by mental patients the last 4 years.
But why would an administration actively recruit mentally ill people to be air traffic controllers other than they want lives in danger?
I'm sure there's some of that, but the people that have been running the government suffer from mental illness under the Democrats. They suffer from mental illness, so they relate to these people and think they're discriminated against.
Yeah, probably.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, no,
they think people that have
mental too.
I understand.
Like they're victims.
A lot of people suffer from mental illness, and they need to make a living, but not. They shouldn't have people's lives in their hands, like being an air traffic controller. I mean, that's just absurd. But basically, what I took away from Trump is they know something about either the two pilots on the Black Hawk or the air traffic controller that's DEI, because they were hardcore right out the box with the DEI.
Yeah,
in that press conference.
That's right. I mean, that was the first thing out of his mouth.
And Trump, if you follow Trump since he came down the escalator, people don't think because they follow Trump, but they don't understand. Trump says nothing that isn't well thought out. I know people think that he just blurts stuff out because he's plain.
That's what Kayleigh McEnany kind of said today.
I don't agree with that. When he says something, he doesn't plan his words, but his thoughts are very well thought out. Okay, so when he came out there with that DEI thing about the air traffic controller, he knows there's DEI involved. And in any time President Trump says some of these things that sound like they're inappropriate or wrong in the past, he's always proven right. So I have no doubt that DEI played a factor here. It's been a big week because Trump has done so much. This thing that he's doing with the federal employees, Caroline Leavitt said, I think it was only 6% of the federal workers go to work.
Yeah, she was standing in the middle of the street and she said, all these buildings are empty.
The whole city is empty.
Yeah, and she said these people need to come back because this is a waste of space and they need to be. I don't understand the controversy over what happened is they started working at home because of COVID. COVID's over. It's like a cold now. Mm-hmm. And they want to stay at home. They want to stay working in their pajamas or she said that some of them, a lot of them, and Trump mentioned this, have been doing other jobs.
Well, what Trump said was this, okay?
And not even doing this job.
Well, what Trump said, this was amazing what Trump said. Trump is offering something that's never been offered to government work. They're going to fire a lot of workers. So before they do the firing, they're doing some things to
avoid
thin the herd. They're trying to thin the herd. So they're requiring them to come back to work by a certain day. Yes. And if they don't, they have grounds to fire them. A lot of them are not going to come back to work.
Plus, he's offering to buy out their contract.
Well, then the second thing is this buyout, okay? Right. But he said that the federal workers are going to have to prove that they've not had other jobs. So a lot of these workers, and I imagine it could be thousands, they've been working other full-time jobs, not doing their federal job, and been getting the pay and the benefits for the last 5 years.
Well, we know
that's fraud. It's theft. It's all kinds of crimes, and a lot of these people not only could end up fired, but in prison, federal prison.
They could end up having to pay back those wages.
Yeah, they got to bring back debtors' prisons for these people.
Well, you have the federal government's all corrupt, and right now that's going to change.
Well, the bureaucracy is the people that are these lifelong bureaucrats.
If you have, say, a department working from home, and you have a department head, he might just require them to check in the morning. And then leave, and then check in later on in the day. And he might just say, okay, go work. And, are they monitoring these people?
Yeah.
But another point somebody made was that it's a major security risk to have these people working from home computers. They're not secure. They're not safe. And they have to be in a building that is secured, that the government can make sure there's no spying. Or you don't know what people are doing at home or who they're sending information to. There's no way to really, has anybody even monitored that? I mean, it's just insane when you see Trump and how he's handling things. it shows you, and I think the American people see this, how absolutely incompetent and corrupt Joe Biden was.
Yeah,
I mean, how awful he was.
And Doge has been uncovering a lot. And for all of these people, they've been trying to float these stories that Elon Musk is on the outs with Trump. Trump yesterday offered Elon Musk the Lincoln bedroom to live in. I'm not kidding.
To live in?
He's been sleeping, Elon Musk, in the Doge office. He's been working so much.
Gosh.
And so Trump said he could sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
Wow. I don't know if I could sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
But you know, I know
he's going to move into the White House.
A lot of you guys know this, but I don't think everybody knows it. You know,
that's going to really make a lot of people very jealous.
The Lincoln bedroom is not really Lincoln's bedroom, okay? It's not. Harry Truman remodeled the White House when he was president, and it was falling apart. He had had a piano, and the piano leg fell through the floor. They gutted the entire White House down to the 4 walls. So everything that's in there now.
No, but that's the bed he died in, though. And that's some of his stuff.
I don't know if it's the bed he died in.
I saw a PBS documentary.
They said it's the bed he died in.
The bed frame is the bed he died in.
Because the bed he died at that house across the street from Ford's Theater, right?
That's probably a replica like Ford's Theater.
Well, I don't think that's the bed, but is the bed in the Lincoln bedroom the bed that he died in?
That's what they say. And there's all his artifacts and personal items in
that room.
His
stuff may be in there.
They said that is the bed he died in. Not the mattress.
But the room, it's a new room. It's a room from the 50s, right? You know what I mean? It's not it's all gutted, so it's a little misleading, the whole thing. But I think that really shows you how close Elon Musk and Trump are, that he offered that he could move into the Lincoln bedroom.
It is certainly the most coveted guest room in the White House.
The Clintons were selling it for
everybody
tens of thousands a night.
I believe it.
Yeah, it was like $50,000 to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
How is that legal?
Campaign donations. It shouldn't be legal. But the Clintons were doing it. It was a big scandal. And I remember Marky Post, the actress from Night Court that died? Yeah. She did it one night, and she took a picture of her and her girlfriend jumping up and down on the bed, which is so disrespectful.
And so juvenile.
Yeah.
Well, the White House, because I saw a whole documentary on the White House when Trump got elected. And it was really interesting. No, this time.
Really? There's a new documentary?
Well, I don't know if it's new, but anyway, it was on YouTube. And I think it was PBS or somebody did it. And it showed how it's 6 levels. There's 2 basements, and the president family lives on the top, and then the floor underneath them is the guest quarters, and it spans the whole floor. Okay, and Trump talked about how there's a hallway. You could see it in that movie with Natalie Portman about the Kennedys. She's walking through the White House, and it's like an exact replica, or it's actually in it. And he said the hallway upstairs. And it is super wide, and there's like couches, and
I've seen it.
He said it's really nice, and you could see it in that movie. Yeah. And I was like amazed how wide that hall that not hallway, but there's like a living area in the middle of the floor that's very wide.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the second floor is guest quarters, the whole floor, and then below that is the main floor, or one of the main floors where they have and then the kitchen on. So it's interesting if he's going to let him live there, because
that's crazy. And when has
I wonder if other people are not happy or upset about
I'm
that.
sure that a lot of people aren't, because I mean that's I don't know of anyone that's not been related to the first family that's lived in the White House.
No.
Right? Like Michelle Obama's mother lived with them at the White House, but that's family.
Right.
Elon Musk is not family. Yeah, I don't know what that relationship's why it's so tight. Is it just because he respects him because the business? I don't know. It's really it's an unusual friendship.
Well, Trump.
He could trust him. I guess
Trump is almost 80 years old.
Oh my gosh.
He grew up, so he's a little younger than my mother, who's 82, 83. So he was born like in 1946, 47. So he was, in his 20s during the space race and all that. Kennedy. He was a young man, however old he was, but old enough to know, maybe a teenager. But I think he's really fascinated by all that stuff. I think he likes NASA. He's fascinated by space flight. And I think Elon is one of the few people that Trump feels is maybe smarter than him.
And doesn't
you know what I mean?
And you know what?
Everybody else, he's like, I'm smarter than everybody, which he is. But he's the one guy I think Trump looks up to.
And he's also the richest man in the world. And,
exactly.
And he's got these cool businesses. And
Trump respects that.
Like, he's probably one of the only people around Trump, maybe the only person around Trump, who doesn't want something from him.
Right. And,
you know what I mean?
Trump respects success. I think more than anything in a person.
And he's self-made.
And loyalty.
He's self-made, regardless of what people will tell you. Now, listen, I want to tell you guys about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. You know, it's really amazing. And the laser treatment, you guys know, he's rid me of pain 7 times. That's amazing, isn't it? 7 times. Some of it's from, aging, like arthritis and stuff. But sometimes it's been injuries. And it works. The cool thing about the laser treatment, well, there's a couple cool things about it. One, it works. That's it gets rid of the pain. And the way it does that is Dr. Appleton is able to isolate where in your body the pain's coming from and treat that area. And the laser treatment repairs the damage that is causing you the pain. That's why when he's treated me, the pain's gone and it hasn't returned, right? There's no drugs, there's no downtime, there's no shots, it works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. I have met Dr. Appleton's been with us about 2.5 years, or maybe a little longer, going on 3 years. I have met so many listeners over the last few years that have gone to Dr. Appleton, and they all rave and rave and rave that they got their life back, their pain is gone. And, I don't know if you've experienced pain, you know what I'm talking about. The pains that he's treated me for were so bad, I just wanted to go to sleep. Right, you know what I'm talking about. You just want to go to sleep. That's it.
I think anybody over 45 or 50 understands what that's like.
It's the worst. Now, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. But that doesn't mean you can't make an appointment. I'm going to give you the number. You can make an appointment. And if you're coming from out of town, because I know a lot of you come from out of town and out of state, you might want to make an appointment if you're traveling, okay, to see him. You can find him online at AppletonChiro.com. That's AppletonChiro.com. Or give him a call. Here's his number, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Experience the mystery, elegance, and soothing power of Dark Night Candles. Only at candlesbyross.com. Handcrafted with care by Ross, the creator of the Dark Night Candle line. These luxurious candles are designed to ease anxiety, relieve stress, and bring a serene glow to your home. Each flame represents resilience, strength, and quiet sophistication. Infused with deep, evocative fragrances, Dark Night Candles are eco-friendly and handmade with care in the charming village of Grays Lake, Illinois. They're perfect for those who love modern luxury with a touch of mystique. Right now, enjoy free shipping and an exclusive buy 2, get 1 free offer. No code needed. Shop the entire Dark Night Candle collection today at candlesbyross.com. Let their glow bring warmth and serenity to your space. The Dark Night Candle collection, where modern craftsmanship meets legendary spirit. Order now at candlesbyross.com. You watch football every week. You know the game inside and out. But how would you like to turn your football knowledge into real wins? That's where Football is Money comes in. Football is Money is a podcast for fantasy football domination and betting strategies. Join host They Call Me Boss. He's the football mastermind. And Zay, the league insider. Together, they break down bold predictions, uncover hidden fantasy gems, and share their expert tips. Whether you're a seasoned football fan or just getting started, Boss and Zay cover everything from fantasy trends to insider analysis, as well as weekly top performer breakdowns, all with humor, energy, and actionable advice. Don't just watch football, dominate it. Subscribe to Football is Money right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or wherever else you get your podcast. Visit footballismoney.com to join the community, get your questions answered, and take your fandom to the next level. Share the podcast on all your social media so your friends can tune in too. Add Football is Money to your podcast playlist right now. From authors Joan K. Smith and Sophie Swinford comes a book that will take you on a journey that will change the way you see the world and yourself. The Rebel's Hike, available on Amazon. Follow 4 middle schoolers on an unforgettable adventure to a realm where they meet the original source of light and truth. Together, they uncover answers to life's biggest questions. Who loves me? Am I important? And what's my purpose? But that's just the beginning of their adventure. Armed with the rings of truth and powerful insights, the kids return to Earth to face more challenges, make tough choices, and inspire their generation to see the world in a whole new light. Whether you're a parent, teen, or anyone looking for a story that's filled with meaning, faith, and adventure, The Rebel's Hike will leave you inspired. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, Kindle Unlimited, and audiobook. Discover the truth. Change the world. The Rebel's Hike from authors Joan K. Smith and Sophie Swinford on Amazon. If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984, with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too: residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, or connect online at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Okay, so Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, it's crazy, was on with Megyn Kelly, and he told Megyn Kelly that this thing about the United States buying Greenland is real. It's serious. It's not a joke or anything. It's serious. And Megyn Kelly, it's so strange because she had such a conflict with Trump in the first campaign and the first term. And now she's all in that world. She was sitting behind Robert Kennedy during his hearing yesterday. And, the thing about Robert Kennedy, he did really good. That got heated, more so than Kash Patel. And the Democrats were going, listen, Democrats are going to go after every Republican. And then when there's a Democrat president, the Republicans are going to go after their picks.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's just how it is, But I'm not going to play the clip. I'll just tell you what happened. I don't want to listen to Bernie Sanders. But it was weird to see Bernie Sanders getting so nasty with Bobby Kennedy because Larry David, they say, is like Bernie Sanders' doppelganger. And Bobby Kennedy's wife is sitting behind him, and she's Larry David's wife.
Yeah,
and Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's kind of funny because she knows Bernie Sanders.
Well, Larry David, didn't he play Bernie Sanders on SNL?
Yes. Yeah, it was like a running joke.
Yeah.
So she knows Bernie Sanders privately because he's been to the set of Curb Your Enthusiasm or something. How these people are. But the Democrats were going after Bobby Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy came back and he said, all of you Democrats are taking, and he said, especially you, Bernie. He said Bernie. He called him Bernie, not Senator.
Because
he called him Bobby.
Because he called him Bobby.
And he called him Bernie.
And then he said Bernie.
Yeah.
Like he was like, okay, we're gonna call each other by our first name.
And he said all of the Democrats are taking millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical companies, and he pointed out exactly to the dollar how much Bernie has taken. And Bernie Sanders had this meltdown and says, I just take individual donations. And then Bobby Kennedy pointed out they were individual donations from people who work for the pharmaceutical industries. So what happens is the big pharma, to get through Bernie's fake socialist crap that he tries to portray, they just give the money to the employees to give as individual donations to Bernie, which is, by the way, illegal. You can go to prison for that. That's a campaign finance violation to do that, I believe. But all these Democrats, Bernie Sanders, the fake Indian, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, they all take millions of dollars every year
in donations,
from, well, not just in donations, from the pharmaceuticals. You know, they give their family members get fake jobs, you know, and they pay them off that way. And that's why when Goldbar Menendez went to prison for 11 years yesterday for taking bribes.
Did he go to jail?
I'm not sure if he's there yet, but he had a press conference after.
Well,
so
don't they have to take you right away? I saw him get in a car.
Not always. Sometimes you can report in a week or a month. But I don't know if he's in there now.
So what? They're giving him time to flee the country?
He's got no money. I think he's broke.
They probably took his passport.
He's broke. But he, I could tell what he was thinking. He was thinking, why am I going to prison? Because every other senator is doing the same thing. I don't understand why I'm going to prison.
Because he pissed off somebody.
He must have really ticked off someone.
Yeah.
He did something. And he's one of the nastier Democrats,
and if he
believe it or
thinks
not.
Trump's going to pardon him, he's kidding himself.
Oh, he was begging Trump
Never
for a
gonna
pardon
happen.
yesterday. But if I were...
Well, he pardoned Blagojevich.
Well, but he was on The Apprentice.
He was on The Apprentice.
Blagojevich.
They became friendly, and Trump pardoned him.
Yeah, he
after
knew him.
that, and he had served his time. He had been in jail for like a year or two, so he pardoned him. And
I don't know if did he pardon him or give him clemency. I don't remember which one it was.
Maybe clemency.
He got him out of prison.
Oh, he did get him out of prison. I thought he was already out because he did the show.
That was before he went. That was before he went to prison. That was another one. He got sentenced and was waiting to go, and he was on The Apprentice. And I remember, Rod Blagojevich. He used to be the governor of Illinois, and he, when Obama became president, he took a donation to appoint a guy to be a senator, and they considered it a bribe, which they all, by the way,
I just would never get into politics,
and
it's just too messy.
I can't remember the name of the guy he appointed, and the guy went to the Senate, and they wouldn't swear him in because they said it wasn't legit because he bought the seat, and Blagojevich went to prison for this, but he was on the Celebrity Apprentice before he went to prison when he was waiting to go to prison, and the Celebrity Apprentice was in New York, and they were doing a episode of the Celebrity Apprentice to do it was the season Geraldo was in. Geraldo Rivera was in this season of the Celebrity Apprentice. They were flying to Orlando to do a promotion for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios Orlando.
I remember that.
And Trump flew them down on one of his planes, and he says to Rod Blagojevich, "Can you leave the state? Can you go to Florida?" And he says, is the plane leaving the country? And Trump says, no, just to Florida. He says, yeah, I can go. As long as it doesn't leave the country. It was pretty funny. It was like a real conversation. So they were friends. But anyway, the thing with Goldbar Menendez, Congress makes the law. So they make the law so they can legally do things that should not be that should be illegal. But
like this NVIDIA stock, okay?
Yes.
My mom has owned NVIDIA stock for 2 years. My brother recommended to her, and she made quite a bit of money on that, quite a bit. And she woke up the day everybody was selling it off and sold her stock because it was tanking. So luckily, she wasn't under what she paid for it. Okay, so she didn't lose money. She made a little bit of profit. She lost some, but she
lost some of what she made.
She sold it at a price pretty far above what she paid. So she still made some decent money.
Yeah.
But Nancy Pelosi sold her stock a month ago.
Yeah. How'd she know?
I mean,
exactly.
How did she know this new AI from China was going to come out and take that company, which was one of the top stocks on the NASDAQ? I mean, I'm telling you, my mom made a ton of money off that.
It's insider trade. And Pelosi's husband.
And she couldn't sell hers till the day she found out it was going down.
Pelosi's husband, okay, his stock picks outperform all the top hedge funds on Wall Street. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, so good?
They're doing no.
Obviously, they knew.
It's insider trading. Other people go to prison for it.
Yeah, but they get away with it.
But Menendez is in prison. So he really doesn't understand what if I were Menendez, I'd write a tell-all book about every dirty deed. He's an old man.
He's not going to do
every
well in
dirty
jail.
deed that I know of that anyone's ever done in Washington. I'd smuggle it out and have them printed for free on Kindle, and everybody would read it.
Honestly, Brian, I think that sometimes, I mean, the Democrats are dirty and they play dirty. I almost think sometimes they pick a sacrificial lamb to take the fall as a warning to others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to scare them. Like, okay, you don't play along, that's going to happen to you.
Well,
you're going to be next.
I saw
They got dirt on everybody.
I saw just a insane story about how they got Mayor Adams. I don't think we talked about this on the podcast. We talked about this on the podcast. We talked about it amongst ourselves. Like we were talking about this. Mayor Adams, they got him on all this campaign finance thing. What happened with Adams, how they got Adams was crazy. There's a singer who I've never heard of. I told you who it was. Do you remember who it was? She's very big.
Yeah, we talked about this on another show.
Did we talk about it on the podcast?
We did, yeah.
Okay, I'll just mention it quickly because I mentioned.
Yeah, we talked about the whole thing.
What happened is this singer had paid a priest to film a video that was inappropriate in a Catholic church, caused all kinds of problems. Somebody else did some crimes that led to Adams. And Adams is kind of like Menendez. He's like, why are you picking on me? Everybody does this. Do you know anyone in government who's not rich? And they none of them have jobs outside of the government
because those
but they're all millionaires.
Mayor of a huge city, senator, even congressman, those positions give access and they have power to change laws. They have power to help these companies get very wealthy.
Everyone in government, other than Trump and the people he picks, are corrupt, just like Biden. And when I saw President, I was so glad President Trump had that press conference today. When President Trump had that press conference in the White House briefing room with the presidential seal, and he had Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy there, I felt so good. Not because we won the election. I mean, I'm happy about that. But I felt like safe. Like we've got competent people running the country.
Oh, yeah.
This country, the last 4 years, and during the Obama 8, but in the last 4 years, have been run by lunatics, corrupt public officials, and freaks.
I think
it's crazy.
Think with Kash Patel, head of the FBI, and Christy Noem, and Tom Homan, between those three, I think you're going to see the crime statistics drastically drop over the next 4 years because they're going to get rid of all these illegal criminals that are committing crimes. Kash Patel is going to have the FBI actually do their job and send all these 1,000 employees at the main office out into the field to work and go after real bad guys.
Yeah.
And Christy Noem, Homeland Security, she's going to take care of business too. I think between the three of those people, you're going to see a major, major drop in crime over the next 4 years. And I think the way Trump said it was best. Success will bring us together.
Yeah.
And I think he is now realizing that he's not going to win with the press and he will never convince them or get them on his side. The way he wins over the people is through results. And as long as he delivers results, that's all that matters. And that's what he's focused on.
Yeah.
I'm going to show them what a competent person can actually accomplish, a competent leader who's not on the take, who's not corrupt. They're going to see for the first time, probably in their lifetime, somebody who actually does the job right. And then they'll wake up and realize this is what we got to keep in there.
I imagine the wall's going to be done soon.
They're working on it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now.
And if you notice, they're not keeping us up to date on it. We're just going to, because Trump doesn't want them to.
They're building it around the clock. I've seen videos on X.
So that's going to be a big moment. Just one morning, you're going to wake up and Trump's going to come out and say the wall's finished.
That's exactly right.
And he's going to go down there the next day.
That's exactly right.
And celebrate it.
Have a big ribbon cutting or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's what he'll do.
And, the thing about the there's this new word everyone's using now, meritocracy. I've never heard the word or used it. It's used all the time. And everybody say, well, meritocracy, we got to use meritocracy. But when I saw that press conference today, it was such a drastic difference between what has been running the country for a long time, other than the 4 years of Trump's first term, and now. But even in Trump's first term, because he was new, and he even talked about this, he didn't know he had to hire so many people, he didn't know who he could trust.
He went by who was recommended.
Yeah, he had a lot of establishment people there because he was new to the system.
All gone.
Now, everyone he has is an outside. Like Tulsi Gabbard, total outsider to the – I know she was in Congress and everything, but Hawaii is really far away. So
yeah, she's not in with these people in Washington hate her.
No, she's not part of the Washington even though she was a Democrat member of the House, she's not in that Washington circle because Hawaii is like on the other side of the world.
She is their
and that's where
she is their whipping girl. They blame her. They make her the scapegoat for everything. And she gave her opening statement and she said, "You think I'm the puppet of this guy, this guy?" She said, "How can I be the puppet of 5 dictators?
Well,
all are fighting each other."
She left the Democrat Party, and I got to tell you, these Democrats yesterday that were going after Bobby Kennedy. I'm no Democrat, but I got respect for President Kennedy. I think most people do. President Kennedy and Senator Kennedy, right? Yeah. Bobby Kennedy Sr., right? Senator Kennedy. Everybody has respect for those guys, and. Bobby Kennedy, who was murdered by the CIA, was murdered by the CIA because they were afraid he was going to end the war in Vietnam. Okay, and that's why they killed him, according to his son. And these Democrats,
if he had never run for president, he probably wouldn't have been killed.
And these Democrats, I could have been Kennedy lovers like nobody's business. Ted Kennedy was in the Senate till he died, and Ted Kennedy killed a woman. Their cousin. Their cousin was on trial. He was acquitted.
Skakel.
No, not Skakel. That was, well, they had a cousin that murdered someone. Yes. But they had another cousin, the Kennedys, that was on trial for rape in Palm Beach, if you remember, in the 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. Now, he was acquitted. Okay. But the Kennedys stood by it. Ted Kennedy was in the courtroom for the trial. He testified in that rape trial, right? The William Kennedy Smith trial.
Yes.
Ted Kennedy and the Kennedys stood by their cousin during the rape trial. They stood by Skakel during his murder trials and stuff over the years, Michael Skakel. And Bobby Kennedy goes MAGA, and all of a sudden they cut him off. Well,
how come Carolyn Kennedy never came out before and said he was a predator? He is 72 years old. She has known him her whole life. He was born before her. Why has she never come out and said these things about him until now? The day before he's testifying. Come on.
And the thing about Carolyn Kennedy, and for those that don't know, I think most of you know, she's President Kennedy's daughter, right? And he's Bobby's son. So they are the last two. When Carolyn Kennedy and Bobby are gone, that's it. The Kennedy dynasty's gone. The people that are left, there's no mystique around them. Carolyn and Bobby Kennedy, people are, because of their dads. And I know they have, there's extended family, but nobody cares about them. I was appalled at Carolyn Kennedy. And then his nephew was making fun of the way he talks, his illness. But these Democrats that were trashing him, they have stood by Kennedys who have killed people.
Okay, so I have new breaking news.
Let me just finish with this. We'll get the breaking news. And I was really surprised. At Carolyn Kennedy, I think, is one of the this is saying a lot. Now, Ted Kennedy killed a woman. Okay, so short of that. Okay, short of Ted Kennedy killing, the woman, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen a Kennedy do. What Caroline Kennedy did, she should be ashamed of herself. But I looked. We were talking yesterday, this amongst ourselves, and you thought, well, she did it for the money.
I think they paid her to do it,
Kathy. Because we were thinking, well, the Kennedy money. I'm not going to go through it now, but I posted an article on my ex yesterday, Brian Craig Show, that goes through the Kennedy wealth. That Joe Kennedy trust is worth billions.
Well, she did it for some reason. She got something in return.
They're so rich, all of them, Bobby and her.
I guess crime does pay.
President Kennedy. President Trump is the richest man ever to be president, okay? President Kennedy's the second wealthiest. He was worth, when he was president, adjusted for inflation, okay? Adjusted for inflation in 2025 dollars. President Kennedy was worth $1.2 billion adjusted for inflation when he was president. Did you ever hear that before? I didn't realize. I knew they were. And they're still that rich. So I don't think she did it for the money. I think she's jealous of Bobby that he's an insider. So what's the breaking? Or you know what? We got to take a break. So let's take a break and we'll come back with the breaking news. Okay. The podcast is recorded, so we can break it after we're not live. We can break the news after the break. I want to tell everyone though, this is amazing, Kathy. I got an email from Mike Lindell's office yesterday, and this deal was so good. This can't be. So I wrote them back, and they got in touch with me because I had to verify this before I told you guys about it. Okay, because this is a big one. This is just on. This is on every item on the MyPillow website, but only with our promo code Kane at checkout. KANE. Free shipping site-wide on all orders on all products, no matter how large, no matter how small. Free shipping on everything at MyPillow.com, no matter what you order, no matter how – it was free shipping on orders over $75. No more. Free shipping site-wide on everything with our promo code Kane at checkout, KANE. Now, when you go to the website, you don't see it advertised there. This is a secret sale, okay? It's not advertised on the website. You'll still see free shipping on orders over $75. When you use our promo code Kane and you go to through the checkout process, you'll see free shipping on everything. Take advantage of this. This will end without notice, and that's an amazing savings, Kathy. Free shipping site-wide with our promo code Kane at checkout.
In fact, I took advantage of it, and I bought Emily a bunch of stuff for her apartment
you already
last
did it?
night. Yes.
Okay, we were talking about that.
Yes.
What'd you get her?
I loaded her up. Some sheets, some towels, some of the hand towels. Just stuff for her apartment.
Well, plus
there's things. She needed towels, so I sent her some more towels.
Well, when I stayed with her last week, I told you I had a hard time finding a towel. You know, she was short on the. We had neglected to get her MyPillow towels. I thought we did, but I guess we got them for ourselves.
I guess so.
but you sent her some MyPillow towels
last night. So yep.
And when I used her towel, and it was the first time I dried off without a MyPillow towel in a while. Oh my goodness, Kathy, it's not the same. So anyway. It's free shipping on all orders at MyPillow.com, no matter what the item is, with our promo code Kane at checkout, KANE. Plus, you get the special discount deals on everything. So go there right now and do that. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, Kathy's got some breaking news. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
From author Vanya Demedion comes a book that might just change your life. Are you feeling stuck in your love life? Maybe you're divorced, heartbroken, or just wondering if true love is even out there for you. This game-changing new book, From Divorced and Depressed to Soulmate Success, Manifest True Love in Less Than a Year, is written by someone who's been exactly where you are right now. Divorced, lost, and doubting everything. But it all turned around and manifested her soulmate. And now she's here to help you do the same. This is not just another book about dating. It's a proven step-by-step guide that will show you how to align your energy, clear the blocks that are holding you back, and attract the love of your life on your terms. Whether you're ready to manifest your dream partner or just take back your power, this book gives you the tools you need to do it. So stop the endless swiping and start manifesting the soulmate you deserve. Find a link to the book in the description of this episode and order your copy of From Divorced and Depressed to Soulmate Success. Manifest true love in less than a year. Remember, love is closer than you think. You just have to take the first step. In a world dominated by oppression, three courageous people's lives are intertwined by the ancient war. A Hittite soldier, a slave girl, and a fatherless boy meet and fight together for their life with courage, friendship, and the power of music. This is the story in the book, A Hittite Soldier and a Slave Girl. Idan, who is a Hittite warrior, gravely wounded in the battle. Hannah, a slave girl who lost everything in the war. And fatherless boy Samuel, whose mother became his uncle's second wife, according to the tradition. Each vowed to seek justice from injury. Idan returned to a home where his bride was absent. He finds comfort in Hannah's melody that heals his broken heart, and he becomes Hannah's protector. Hannah participates in a competition to buy her freedom, but gets involved in an incident that puts everything at risk to save her cousin, and she's helped by a schoolmate named Samuel. Idan and Samuel protect the slave girl Hannah, but that leads Idan to another danger. The frontline order due to the king's betrayal. But he quietly heads off to the battlefield, ready to accept his harsh fate with his inner peace, telling Hannah to have a good life with hope without seeking vengeance for him. This story has been translated into 3 languages and is beloved in over a dozen countries. Check out A Hittite Soldier and a Slave Girl book trailer on YouTube today and read the whole story on Amazon and Kindle. Are you looking for affordable property insurance that fits both your life and your budget? The USA General Insurance Home Protection Plan provides comprehensive coverage to safeguard your most valuable asset, your home. Protect your property and enjoy peace of mind with tailored policies that include fire and theft protection, liability insurance, and personalized options designed specifically for you. Their friendly team of experts will guide you every step of the way to find the very best coverage at the most affordable rates. Why settle for less when you can have peace of mind right now? Visit usageneralinsurance.com to schedule your consultation with an expert and get a personalized insurance plan that works for you. USA General Insurance. Protection for what matters most. Affordable, reliable, here for you. usageneralinsurance.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. All right, so what's the breaking news?
Well, before I give you that, there's a new article in the New York Post about why they think this crash could have contributed to it.
New York Post?
That says that they spoke to aviation experts about a number of factors that have contributed to the fatal collision. It said originally built to shuffle VIPs into the nation's capital on private or government jets, Reagan is a smaller airport and the only one physically in the district, with a runway nearly half as long as the standard runways. So it has a very short runway, which is a problem of large commercial jets. Landing is tricky for incoming planes. I don't know if I would fly, I don't know if I'd fly into that airport anymore. The first few times you fly there, you usually are with a fellow pilot who is very experienced. He's kind of talking you through it. Where you land on runways that are 13,000 feet long, you've got now 7,000. That's a big difference. The shorter runway makes the descent difficult, creating the need for pilots to be intensely focused. So one guy said on the news that when you look at video of what happened, he said when you're there and it's, it might look differently than if you look at it from far away, which is true. The perspective might be different. So if you look at the helicopter and it's seemingly flying directly into the path, he said that might not exactly be the truth of what happened. So we'll see what happens. It's awful all around. And my sister is a flight attendant for American, so I texted her last night. She didn't get back to me, so I was a little worried, but I know she doesn't fly. She said it was an American Eagle plane.
That's the commuter airline.
She only flies the big jets. She usually flies the Caribbean out of Miami. But the breaking news is Trump is about to announce tariffs on Mexico and Canada. President Trump is set to announce 25% tariffs on both Canada and Mexico due to the concerns of fentanyl trafficking. Both nations do practically nothing to stop the flow of drugs into the United States, so President is going to teach them a lesson.
It says
that'll be good.
And just a little bit more. It is supposed to take effect on Saturday.
Oh my gosh!
This weekend.
They're doing nothing. They're if you have countries like Canada and Mexico, and they're allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like helping the enemy. I mean, they're not helping us and we're giving them money. That would be like if we were helping Hitler destroy England. We went over and helped England. But what if we went over there and actually helped Hitler invade?
Yeah.
They're allowing these countries, they're allowing these drug dealers and these drugs that are coming from China, wherever, to come into our country. They're doing nothing to stop it. And that's their responsibility because they're coming through their border, their side of the border. I've been through the Canada border. When you come from Canada to America, you are on the Canadian side you're on Canada's side.
That's right.
Okay. You don't go through, when you're coming from Canada to the country here, you don't go through an American border patrol guy. You go through the Canadian police, the Mounties, and they have to check your car and this and that. If you're coming from America to Canada, it's the opposite. I mean, we all know this. So they're allowing people to come in from Canada or Mexico carrying these drugs, and they are not stopping these drugs. And these are millions and millions and millions of pills every day that are coming in, killing Americans. So they're really enemies of this country.
Yeah. Now, before we get deeper into that, I just want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And if you would like to support the program, of course, there's many ways to do that. And one of the ways is to become a Patreon supporter. And if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this episode. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Dale, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, Christy R, and John S. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. You know, these countries don't, Trump's doing a lot of things, okay? I mean, I think his big move is he wants to abolish the income tax and just go to tariffs. Trump, there's people like Trump understand money in ways that people like us don't understand. So, one person that is at Trump's side all the time, spends a lot of weekends with Trump, is Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and he's Canadian. He's a Canadian self-made billionaire. So believe me, President Trump, he understands money, he understands business, he understands the economy. He's an economist, really. He's a top economist, and he I'm sure he consults people like Kevin O'Leary, who's Canadian, on things. We don't need these. We don't need to just allow these countries free reign here. And what Trump's doing is these tariffs, and what he's going to show is that these tariffs are not going to affect prices like they're telling us. He knows they're not, because there's nothing, for the most part, there's very little we get from these countries that we can't get from ourselves or from another country. So these businesses in Canada and Mexico, they're not really going to raise their prices because there's other places we can get it. And I guess get an example, picking something just out of the blue, right? From syrup. I don't know what we get from Mexico other than Corona. I wouldn't be surprised if Corona is not made and bottled in the United States. And when people realize that the prices don't change with these tariffs, it's going to make it easier. That's why he's setting up this external revenue office, separate from the internal revenue office. And if he were to abolish the income tax, which is I think is his ultimate goal, it would be such a boom for the American worker. People have no idea. That income tax is, it's a lot, right? We're taxed on everything. That's his ultimate goal. If he already overturned Roe v. Wade, which I think out of everything he's done, that's going to go down in history as his greatest legacy, because millions of people will be born and live lives because he did that. I mean, that's a hard thing to top. But if he abolished the IRS, that would also be that'd be a huge accomplishment. And I really think that is his ultimate goal. And all this talk about tariffs and everything is all about his move towards abolishing the IRS.
What he wants to do is restructure the government completely back to the way things, I think, used to be before we started getting taxed, before the federal government got so big. He talks a lot about, the past presidents and McKinley, and Brian's reading a book on McKinley now. And I think he's restructuring the government. I think the government has gotten out of hand. The federal government's become too big, and he wants to take it back to a much smaller entity and back to what it was originally meant to be, and restructuring things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, he's very much into his legacy. And he's talked about McKinley, and as Kathy was telling you, I've got a biography I just started reading of President McKinley, and it's very good. He's a very interesting guy. I want to tell you guys about Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, you want to call Tom Laporta. Now, you can go to his website, laportaroofing.com. But I'm going to give you his cell phone number. His cell phone number is not listed on his website, but I'm going to give it to you in just a moment, okay? And you can call or text Tom Laporta. But I learned something from Tom recently that just blew my mind. This was insane to me. Anyone in the state of Florida can borrow a roofer's license from another roofer, even if you have no experience, and start your own roofing company. And you're legally a roofer. Isn't that crazy? Tom Laporta, he holds all of his licensing and certificates himself. That's crazy. That's so fly-by-night that people can do that. DeSantis needs to change that law. That's dangerous. You know, roofs are important no matter where you are, but we're in hurricane country in Florida, and a roof is so important. Give Tom Laporta a call. You know, he can handle the job of any size, whether it's a small single-family home like Kathy and I have, or a condo or apartment community with 300 units in it. He not only handles homes and condos and apartments, but he can also handle municipal buildings, schools, churches. He can handle anything. And he also works with every type of roofing material there is as well. Give him a call. Here's Tom Laporta's cell phone number, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. That's 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. All right, my name's Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.